Hi besties! My name is Angie, this is my channel, maybe I'll read today, and today we're starting a new vlog, and it's a vlog that I'm really excited about. It's a vlog that I've been planning and thinking about and researching for a very long time. And I was gonna try and push it off until February because like thematically it's semi more relevant because like Venus and romance and love and whatever. I don't care though. So in this vlog, we're going to be reading romance books according to my Venus placement. So not only is it a reading vlog, it's something of an astrology experiment because in theory, these books that I have selected based on my Venus placement should ensure that these books are going to be really great for me and maybe potentially be 5 stars? Question mark? So before I share the books, or I guess I might be doing them in tandem, but let me tell you about my Venus placement. I have a Capricorn Venus and my Venus sign is in my 8th house, right? So we're using those little details to determine the books that I'm going to read. And if you're not familiar with astrology, that's okay. I'm gonna break it down for you. I will admit I'm something of an astrology amateur, so like these might be surface level takes, but these are the takes that we're going to use to determine my TBR for this video. So starting from the beginning, we have a Capricorn Venus. And a Capricorn is often stereotyped to be like the workaholic, girl boss, career driven of the zodiac. In theory, we could potentially be reading a lot of like office workplace romances. We're not doing that though, because I think that is a inaccurate stereotype for Capricorns. Or not totally inaccurate, but just like misplaced. Hear me out. I think Capricorns are not necessarily career driven. They are security driven. They need to have a sense of stability. They need to feel safe and secure. And given the world that we live in, that is manifested through capital and careers and having a high paying job. And having a Capricorn Venus can be interpreted as someone who is looking for someone that can provide that sense of security and stability. Again, either in a like materialistic capital sense, actual rich person, have money kind of situation, or in like the emotional sense, this person is providing a sense of security and safety and stability for you. A lot of the times a Capricorn Venus will also be interpreted as like something of an age gap romance, just because again, in theory, someone who is significantly older than you has lived through their life. They may have the like material capital security that they can provide for you, but also they're just like more mature, more wise, more emotionally in touch that they can provide the emotional security for you. So the first book on our TBR is an age gap romance. Hello. We're going to be reading Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. Don't even say nothing about me holding an Ali Hazelwood book right now. This book intrigues me. In this book, we're following a 23-year-old named Maya, and she has a crush on her brother's best friend named Connor, who is 38. What intrigues me about this book, according to the summary, like they actually acknowledge the problematic summer romance. Shoot, they even do it in the title. But like one of the tensions that they have is not only his relationship with her brother, but also just their age difference, him having a career and her just starting off her life, and all of these other little things that are coming together that makes it a problematic summer romance. So I'm intrigued, but that's not all. Diving a little bit further into my Venus placement, I also have my Venus in my 8th house, and the 8th house represents a lot of different things. It can represent finances. So there's a lot of money talk in my Venus placement. So if the universe wants to like fucking deliver eventually, that'd be fucking amazing. But the 8th house also represents death and grief. In relationship with the money and the finances, it represents inheritances. So our next book is called Just One Taste by Lizzie Dent. This is a book that follows a young woman named Olive. She has a tense relationship with her father, which may or may not speak to my Pisces and Saturn, but that's not what this vlog is about, but it's interesting how this is lining up. But after her father dies, she finds out that she is inheriting his restaurant. We have the death, we have the inheritance, and you know what? We got the spaghetti, so we have a lot of Italian representation in our TBR as well. Let's hear it for the Italy summer, I guess. And then we have our last book, which is 4 Weekends and a Funeral by Ellie Palmer. This is obviously dealing with death and grief. And in this book, we're following Allison, who arrives at her ex-boyfriend's funeral only to discover that no one knows that they broke up. So throughout the course of the funeral, she feels so bad about it that she kind of goes along with it, and she kind of plays the role of the grieving girlfriend. And that kind of makes her the designated person to clean out his apartment. And so now she's forced to clean out his apartment with his best friend, who she has some weird kind of like tension with. I'm actually going to start with 4 Weekends and a Funeral because, full transparency, I already started this book. I haven't gotten very far. I'm only like 30 pages in, and I think I do need to restart to refresh my memory because, full transparency, I tried doing this vlog before. This was the last book of that previous TBR, but I ultimately archived all of that footage because I goofed it. I was reading a bunch of books that were death related, but more like haunted, ghost, paranormal adjacent. And I realized that I don't really care for romances that have like a supernatural fantasy edge to it. I think I need my romances to be a little bit more contemporary, a little bit more literary, a little bit more based in reality, which is why we're starting this vlog over with books that fit that bill. The only exception is I do fuck with a vampire werewolf romance heavy. I'm about 100 pages into this book, and I have to admit, I don't really think I like it, ? And that's frustrating because I want this experiment to go well, and I want this vlog to go well. And because I'm feeling kind of not great about it, it does make sense to me why the first iteration of this vlog was such a flop, because this is the book that made me give up. And now this is the book we're starting with again. Everything about it just feels really flat. So just to give you a quick rundown of all of the characters, all of the players in this game, we have Allison. She's our protagonist. She's brunette. She's clumsy. She's quirky. She's that girl. And by that girl, I mean maybe a Zooey Deschanel in a lot of ways. She loves sugar. She loves Christmas. She's quirky, irky. Worky. She has 2 best friends. The blonde one is really carefree, bubbly, free-spirited, loves animals, is a preschool teacher. She's like the one. And then there's an ethnically ambiguous one who's like the career-driven girl boss, very serious kind of vibe. And then we have Adam, who is our like male protagonist, who is our male lead. And he's very much the like grumpy granola flannel shirt wearing, scruffy beard, kind of messy hair, Nick Miller kind of guy. And so it's like we have all of these archetypes and that's it. And I get it, like romance as a genre is kind of formulaic. That's what makes it so successful. That's what makes it so fun. But usually a romance will have like an archetype or like a certain plot line or a trope, and then they kind of do like their own spin to make it like a little bit more original and a little bit more fun. This so far isn't succeeding in the second part of that math equation, and that's kind of what we're dealing with. I mean, like the added element of like the funeral is interesting, and the discussions and explorations of grief is always going to hit for me, but it's just like there's nothing really doing anything in like the romance sphere, especially because like I personally don't see any chemistry between Allison and Adam. Maybe it's just because I don't really like a grumpy sunshine trope. So just to give you some context, right? Allison's ex-boyfriend died, unfortunately, and she is going to the funeral. Everyone in the family still thinks that she was dating her ex-boyfriend at the time of his death. No one had any idea that they broke up. So now she's in an uncomfortable place and she just feels like it's too awkward to correct them, so she might as well just like play into this role. It's only one day that she has to pretend, so it's like no big deal. That is until the parents start talking about having to find someone to help clear out his apartment, and she volunteers, or she's voluntold, I actually don't remember, but basically as the grieving girlfriend, they're like, you know him better than anyone, can you do this for him? And his best friend Adam is also part of the conversation, and he volunteers to help. Allison and Adam are meeting up every weekend to help clear out this apartment. And this forced proximity is in theory going to make them friendly with each other, is going to spark some kind of tension, some kind of chemistry, and they're going to fall in love. I haven't seen any of that yet, or at least I'm not really buying it yet, but that's kind of the trajectory that we're going towards. They've already been hanging out for a couple of weekends. not much has happened. Again, I just don't think the grumpy sunshine thing is like working for me. Like, he's really standoffish and cold. And whenever she tries to make polite conversation with him, like, he just like totally cuts her off. I don't know, like, maybe for like people who are into grumpy sunshine, like, they see that kind of vibe, they see that kind of personality, that kind of attitude, and they're like, oh my god, he's so mysterious and angry, that's so hot. But like, for me, if I was in a situation where I was cleaning out an apartment with a handsome man, and every single time I tried to get to know him, he was like, hey, shut the fuck up, go into the bathroom and sort out the shampoo bottles, I would be like, okay, this man isn't into me and I'm just gonna mind my business and gonna do my work in silence. So like, I don't know, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with everyone else? If a man is mean to me, I'm gonna suspect that he does not like me. One can make the argument that Adam is grieving, right? So like, maybe that's why his personality is kind of standoffish, kind of grumpy, kind of like emotionally inept, because like, hello, he just lost one of his friends. If we got more into it, that would be fine. But as of right now, like, he's just kind of like standoffish, and then he has like moments where he's like really kind to her, and like, I guess we're supposed to hold on to those nuggets as proof that he's a good person, but it's just like, I don't know, it's just like, it's really not working for me. I just like really don't vibe with this grumpy sunshine thing. We have a lot of updates in this clip. A lot has changed in between the last clip and this clip. Mostly I'm talking about the fact that I got new glasses. What do you think? I agree, they look really cool. They make me feel really smart and chic, and they do make me feel like a Dragon Ball Z character in like a minor way. I'm super into them, and ever since I started growing out my bangs, I'm like, I need to show more of my face. So now we have forehead, now we have smaller frames. Now you can see my face. Are you seeing it? Here it is. Also, I got my nails done. I did the little like cat eye thing, and I'm obsessed. This is gonna be my financial downfall, to be honest. But most importantly, we have a reading update. I finished 4 Weekends and a Funeral this past weekend, and unfortunately, I didn't like it. I ended up giving it 2 stars, which is a bummer because I wanted to like this book, but also it concerns me with the like trajectory of this vlog and this experiment and my hypothesis. Because just in case if you forgot in the past 3 minutes or so, we are trying to read books based off of my Venus placement. And so in theory, according to my Venus placement, grief romances are supposed to really do it for me. And this got 2 stars. However, one of the reasons why I dislike this book kind of aligns with my hypothesis, because I would argue there's not enough grief talk in this grief romance. There's a lot of different examples of grief featured in this romance, but none of them feel super concrete or substantive or like really good. So first we have like all of the grief relationships surrounding Sam, the ex-boyfriend who's dead. We have Allison and her relationship with Sam, which isn't really anything because not only did they break up like a month prior to his death, but also they were only dating for 6 weeks anyways. And even if they were like madly in love in those 6 weeks, which they weren't, Allison was putting up a front in their relationship. She was being the cool girl. She was being the girlfriend she thought Sam wanted, which was ultimately why they broke up, because Sam was like, I don't think this is real for you. I don't really know who you are, right? So like, their relationship isn't the strongest to warrant a lot of grief talk. Adam, who is Sam's best friend, has more history with him. However, he admits that they were kind of already growing apart around the time of his death. So the grief is like half there. And that was kind of interesting in a bad way, because Allison and Adam kept using Sam as a reason for them not pursuing a relationship. Like, Adam was talking about how guilty he feels that his friend just died and he's interested in his girlfriend and blah, 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 blah. What does that look like? What does that mean? Blah, 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 blah. But then when he's talking about Sam himself, he's so like disconnected from it. And so it feels like Sam was a placeholder for like a third act conflict. He was just an object. He wasn't like a real person to them. He was just like a thing that they needed to remove. And so like that felt kind of bad like for Sam, even though like we don't know him as a character, but it was just like he's been reduced to an object, and that sucks. I think we already briefly spoke about it, but like I realized I don't like a grumpy sunshine. Adam, who is the grump, just comes off as like a know-it-all hater. So for example, when Allison gets her mastectomy, she's basically like, I have a second chance at life. I need to live my best life. And her idea of a best life is to be like a super outdoorsy, naturey gal. She's in reality a huge homebody, but she thinks living your best life means that you're like hiking and you're in nature and you're camping and you're going on adventures. So in one chapter, she's like telling Adam her plans of going on this camping trip. And he's basically like, that's not you. You wouldn't like that. Why don't you just stay home? And it's like, I understand that Adam is supposed to be like the personification of like pushing her to be honest with herself and to like pursue her own dreams and ideas and goals. But just like the fact that they only knew each other for 2.5 weeks and he's already shutting her down just like felt really ugly to me, because I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, you don't know her. You've spent exactly 3.5 days together. Maybe she's an outdoorsy girl, or you know what? And even if she's not an outdoorsy girl, maybe she wants to try. And the least you can do is just like support her and like help her succeed, you know? Every moment that she was like, I want to try this thing, he would just be like, well, that's not you. You wouldn't like that. And it was just like so frustrating, because again, they didn't know each other. They met the day of the funeral, and then they had exactly 4 weekends together. That's only 8 days. That's nothing. And so, do I have anything nice to say to end this on a more positive note? I like the cover. And now we can move on. So we started Just One Taste last night. I'm only 30 pages in, and I already think that this is going to deliver more of what I wanted in 4 Weekends and a Funeral. Because the other thing, before we get into this new book, the other thing about 4 Weekends and a Funeral is I wish there was more time. I think I'm a slow burn yearning girly, right? And like not only just like more time with Adam and Allison for them to like flourish this relationship, but also like more time between Allison and Sam. 6 weeks isn't enough, you know? Like if Sam's death was going to be a major conflict with them pursuing a new relationship with each other, like there should have been something there, you know? It shouldn't have just been a talking stage situationship. It should have been something real. If I could change one thing about this book, I would make Allison and Sam have been together for like 1.5 years, and then he dies, and then it's a major thing between her and Adam, and they're like really dealing with all of this death. What we got was instead a situationship, a friend who's not really a friend, and using this dead man as an excuse to not date because question mark. Super rushed, super surface level, not super what I wanted. Just One Taste I think is going to be a little different. This book also opens up with a death, but rather than it being a situationship, it is the protagonist's father. So we're following Olive. She just found out her dad died. This is conflicting information for her because she hasn't spoken to her dad in 15 years. They've exchanged like the birthday text messages. They've had the one-off holiday dinners, but they haven't had a relationship in 15 years. And the reason for that is basically because her father was a like semi-famous celebrity chef. He had a restaurant, and this restaurant was his whole life. You know, he always put the restaurant first. And so when Olive's parents eventually divorce, she chooses her mom. She only hangs with her mom, and that was it. Olive later learns that she is inheriting the exact restaurant that was like the source of so much joy and also the source of so much trauma for her as a child. And so like that's a lot for her to take in. And then on top of that, her father's dying wish was for her and his sous chef Leo to complete his cookbook together, because her father always had one dream and it never came true, and that was to publish a cookbook. And so now she has to finish it with this guy. So Olive and Leo are going to Italy together to do research for this cookbook, to test recipes, to do the whole thing. At the point that we're at right now, they just landed in Italy. Olive just lost all of her luggage, and so I don't know what she's gonna do. She's kind of struggling hardcore. She's also struggling hardcore because like where they're staying is where like her family used to always go every summer. It's like where her father was from. It's where all of the family friends are at. Everyone knows her, and they're just like, oh my God, Olive, we haven't seen you in forever. You're so grown, you're so different, but you're still so the same. And she's also like dealing with how similar but different this situation is, to return to this childhood spot in such a drastically different way. It's really interesting so far. I think I had several other points to make, but it's really hot and my brain's not working anymore, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try and check in somewhere around the halfway mark, and hopefully I'll have something interesting to say. I'm already at the 100-page mark, which may not sound super impressive to you because I think I was only like 40 pages away from 100 pages last time we spoke. But I've been struggling with reading all year. So the fact that I was able to read 50 pages in one sitting in like 30 minutes is like exciting for me. So we're currently at 100 pages. I'm having a good time. I really like these characters, and I really like following Olive as she's like going through everything that she's going through. So where we just left off, Olive and Leo spent the day with her father's mentor and closest friend. This is the guy who basically taught her father how to cook, helped him set up the restaurant, and it's also a guy that Olive hasn't seen in 15 years. And so like leading up to this lunch, Olive was, rightfully so, really nervous just because she hasn't seen these people in a really long time. She doesn't know what her father has said about her in the past 15 years and like how to explain her absence if and when they ever asked for her. And so she was like really psyching herself out. When she actually gets to the house, everyone welcomes her with open arms, and it's totally normal and it's totally cool, and they just like fit her into the family like she's never left. And that was really reassuring for Olive, but also really overwhelming because she was like, how can they still have so much love for me when I just wasn't here? I wasn't trying, I wasn't present. And that's just the thing about family, you know, like you don't see them for 15 years, but when they show up, it's like, oh my God, you're back. How are you? We missed you. So that part is really sweet. And Olive is going through that like time and time again, because like the hotel that she's staying at is also like a close friend of her father's. This guy, the guy down the street, the baker, like all of them know him so intimately. It fills her with a lot of guilt, but it also gives her a lot of context for who her father was outside of his role of father, which he was admittedly not super great at. It's a really like bittersweet journey that she's going through of like figuring out who he was as a person. And it's also like sad because she can't do this journey with him anymore. Her only access is other people's memories, and she's just trying to piece things together. And at this dinner, the subject of the restaurant obviously came up, and the family friend was like, oh my God, I think it's so great that you're gonna inherit this. Like, what are you gonna do to keep Nikki's legacy alive? And what are you gonna change? Like, what are your plans? What do you see in the future? Blah, blah, blah. And like, obviously Olive is planning on selling it, but she just didn't have the heart to break that to the entire table who was so excitedly speaking about her new restaurant. And so she was like kind of tiptoeing around the subject, and like it was actually kind of sweet that like Leo stepped in to reassure her and like pivot the conversation to something else because he didn't want her to be put on the spot like that. And it's like, whatever. He was white knighting it a little bit, and it got me, and it got Olive a little bit too. Am I saying I'm Olive? No. But I relate to her hardcore. He did later reveal that he had like ulterior motives to stepping in, because he was basically like, if you're hesitating saying that you're gonna sell this restaurant, that means to me that you're hesitating about selling the restaurant itself. Like, if you can't admit with your full chest that you want to sell it, that gives me a glimmer of hope that I can change your mind and there's still time to like reverse your decision. So sweet, but ultimately a little sneaky. So that's the update on the restaurant. The update on the cookbook is that Olive and Leo are basically at a stalemate. They're basically at like a false truce with one another. They were really butting heads at first because Olive wants to keep the cookbook classic, traditional, no fluff, everyday kind of meals. Whereas Leo is like, what if we try and elevate these recipes? What if we make them modern? What if we like Instagram it in a lot of ways? And Olive was just like, that's so ugly and disgusting. No, like my father was a traditional cook with traditional recipes. We gotta keep it clean, keep it classic, keep it sexy, keep it cool. But at the moment, they're at a truce because they're just like, we need to get the cookbook done. By doing that, they're hanging out, they're going to restaurants, they're trying a lot of food. I don't know about you, but I think sharing food is like a really lovely, beautiful, intimate thing that you can do with another person. And so like, while there's not a lot of like sexy, spicy romance stuff going on with them at the moment, they're really sharing their passion and their love with one another, because like Leo obviously is a chef, he loves food, but also Olive is also a food girl, because while she didn't want to follow in her father's footsteps of being a chef, she still made a career in the food world by being a food critic. And I don't think she realizes how much alike she is with her father in this aspect and in a lot of aspects. It's kind of like twisty-turny how like you always end up exactly like the parent that you don't want to end up like, and in a lot of cases that really sucks. In this case, where like the dad wasn't inherently horrible, like he was just a workaholic, which is problematic. It is toxic in the way that it took away from his role as a father and as a husband. He wasn't horrible. And so in this very specific case, I think it's kind of sweet that like she subconsciously inherited the same passions, the same outlooks, the same taste in food as her father. She's able to connect with him finally post-death through food and through their shared passions. I don't think Olive has reached that point of realization just yet, but when it happens, I'm gonna pop myself into the book and be like, girl, I told you so. I also realized last night that although I said I didn't want to read a workplace romance for this vlog, I'm very much reading a workplace romance for this vlog. I think for me, traditionally, typically, generally, workplace romance like connotates in my mind to be like an office romance, which I don't like. And I find so boring. And maybe it's just the fact that I work in an office that I'm like, why would I want to read about it? Get me out of here. But like in a lot of ways, this is also a workplace romance. We're dealing with a family restaurant. We're dealing with publishing a cookbook. We're dealing with working together with a person that you said you hated, you know? And so, I mean, the Capricorn Venus wins again because here we are with a workplace romance. Before we get into a reading update, do you want to know a little bit of Angie lore? Because I'm gonna share it anyways. Every single time my hair is like this, I think of this one moment in like the early 2010s, like when I was still very active on Tumblr, and I had posted a selfie, which one would argue maybe a 15-year-old shouldn't be posting selfies on such a public platform, but now I'm on YouTube, so some would say I never learned my lesson because here we are. I posted a selfie and someone had messaged me anonymously and was like, hey, you remind me of Lady from Lady and the Tramp. And that's all that the message said. And so every single time my hair gets like this, I think of Lady from Lady and the Tramp. And I think of that one person, wherever you are. You were anonymous, and yet you have claimed a piece of my heart and soul and mind. Because I quite literally think of you every single time my hair gets like this. So there you have it. Nope, that's gonna hurt my feelings. I was gonna say put a dog emoji in the comments if you agree, but I think that might actually hurt my feelings, so don't do that. Moving on to the reading update. I love this book. Not much else to say about that, but I will give you a little bit more to chew on. I'm currently on page 186, chapter 22. I have been tabbing a little bit, but not like excessively so, but the most recent tab kind of did me in. Leo is really that guy. And I think this review of this book is gonna feel way more embarrassing than any other book that I've ever reviewed, because like not only did I expose my natal chart, but we're doing this experiment to like test my natal chart, and now this is winning, and now everything about this book is working for me, and now you're like peering into my soul, and that feels like a little like, whoa, stop, oh my god, avert your eyes. And yet I'm still recording and posting it online, so I guess even if you averted your eyes, I do want the views, and so you must keep watching. Whatever. But basically, Olive and Leo have left Sicily. They're now in Tuscany, which is where Leo's family is from, and so they're actually staying with his aunt. Now Olive gets to see this other part, this other side of Leo, because he's like very much a family guy. This family guy, Leo, is really sweet, and that's so annoying to me, but like annoying in a good way. And then where we just left off, he woke her up one morning and was like, I'm gonna be a tour guide. I'm gonna take you around. Is that okay? And she was like, yeah, of course. He picks up like the best of the best foods in different small villages in the area. And then he sets up a picnic on the hills where they can like hear opera from like miles away. And it's this like really sweet romantic setting that he like custom made for her. And not only is that just like generally very beautiful and very romantic, he later reveals that like this is what he did when he was dealing with his mom's sickness. When he needed to get away from it all, he would get all of these little foods and go to this little spot to like breathe again. It's like a very personal place for him, and he's sharing it with her. And that makes me sick to my stomach in a good way. This book is great. This book is everything that I've ever wanted. honestly just want to eat this book. It's been a while since I've wanted to eat a book, and boy, do I want to eat this book. I have plans today. I'm considering taking this book with me, but I'm so close to the end that I don't want to be like stuck with no book. And so I'm also currently reading The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and I have a lot of that left, and that feels like a safer pick. But maybe I'll bring them both because I really want to finish this. I really want to get back into this world. This is so good. I'm loving this so much. I do remember what my also was. We're at the point of the book where a third act conflict is going to happen, and I'm so scared for that because I don't want the third act conflict. I just want them to continue to get to know each other and fall in love and share their passions. That's the other thing that's like really doing it for me here, and I think we spoke about it a little bit, but like the fact that they're sharing their passions is like so sexy and cool to me. And on top of that, the fact that they have the same passion, the fact that they both love food to the degree that they love food is just like so sexy and beautiful and cool. It's also the reason why I loved Twisters, which is a weird pull because Twisters is not necessarily a romance, but like Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones's characters like really loved the science of tornadoes so fucking bad. And so that one montage where they're like doing experiments together and getting to know each other and sharing their passions, chef kiss. And I'm getting that again here. And it's just so chef kiss to me, no pun intended. I think I am gonna bring this with me. I think it's gonna make me lose my mind. I finished this book yesterday and I nearly cried. So it's safe to say I love this book. It was everything I ever wanted. It hit all of the points, all of the things on my checklist. If it's not obvious, I gave it 5 stars. No matter what else happens on this vlog, I consider this experiment to be a success because like this book had everything that we talked about in relation to my Venus placement, and it just hit it out of the park. This was everything to me. And I feel like this is something of like underrated romance. Like I came across this randomly like browsing my local bookshop, but like I don't recall anyone talking about this ever at all. And so like this is my public service announcement to tell you, you need to pick this up. It was so freaking good. I need you to pick this up because this book is good. And also if you ever like wanted to delve into my brain and like figure out exactly what I find romantic, it's this book. So I'm not gonna give everything away because I do wanna encourage people to actually read this, but I will say what I liked about this amongst everything is that the third act conflict isn't like something wrong between Olive and Leo. It's not a miscommunication. It's not like a secret ex comes back into the picture. It's nothing like that. It's all internal, just like life gets in the way kind of, I have to deal with this, I have to process kind of stuff. Which is why it makes sense why Emily Henry like blurbed this, because it feels very Emily Henry adjacent. And I won't give it all away, but what I will say, one of the conflicts, because there's multiple, is just like the timing and the workload, because like Olive and Leo are obviously attracted to each other, but they also have the cookbook that they have to finish, and they also have like the state of the restaurant, because the more Olive is reintroduced to like Italian culture and food, the more she realizes how special this restaurant was, not only for her father, but for her. And so she like asks Leo to create a business plan, to give her a proposal, like if she were to keep the restaurant, what could we potentially do? And so as they're like starting to get to know each other, she's kind of like, hold on, we need to pause because we have a lot of things we're trying to balance and I'm getting confused. We need to slow down. And I really like that. I thought that was very mature and cool of her. And I really like that Leo didn't push back and he's a lover boy. And so again, we gave it 5 stars. This is like the romance book of all time for me. And it makes me feel bad that we have one last book to pick up in this vlog, because like I don't know how any other book is going to compare to this book currently, and especially another romance that's set in the same area. And I'm gonna be honest with you, things aren't looking super hot for problematic summer romance. I have tabbed quite a few bits and pieces currently, but they're not necessarily good tabs. These are like judgmental tabs. So in this book, we're following two characters, Maya and Connor. Maya is 23 years old and she's like post-grad, trying to figure out what to do with life. Connor is 38. He is her brother's best friend and she has a fat major crush on him, and a crush that he's fully aware of. And so this book takes place in 1 week in Italy at Maya's brother's destination wedding, and that's all you really need to know so far. I'm currently 100 pages in. She's trying to fight her feelings, he's trying to fight her feelings. They've just been kind of at odds with one another, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not really buying it. And part of the reason is because this is kind of, in a lot of ways, another Grumpy Sunshine kind of thing. Like, Maya isn't like super happy-go-lucky, and she does have like anger management issues that she's dealing with, but like she's still like the quirky 23-year-old kind of girly in comparison to this very serious, grumpy, stoic kind of guy. Already he has pushed her off multiple times, and like for some reason like the girlie's determined. She's not dissuaded by his commentary, because there is this one moment where, and I don't know if I actually tabbed it because I was just like, damn, that sucks. They apparently were super close before this falling out, right? But then he started dating someone and he basically told her, hey, we need to like stop talking all the time, because like I fear it's gonna make my current girlfriend uncomfortable. Our relationship isn't like super up to code, so I need you to stop texting me. Which is a weird thing to say, but it is a thing that was said. And so when she finally sees him again at the villa, she like calls him out and she was like, so you can have friends that are girls and you can be friends with your exes and you can be friends with this random chick who's at the wedding, but you can't be friends with me. And he basically said something along the lines of like, don't put yourself in the same category as my exes that I'm still friends with. And I know it's gonna be revealed later on that like what he meant by that is that Maya is at a different higher category than his exes, but like the way it came off was basically like, you are so little to me, you don't even fall into this category of people I care about. It's a miscommunication, it's a misinterpretation. However, if someone said that shit to me, my feelings would have been done. That's a wrap. Moving on with my life. I'm not wasting my time with that, right? So like, I think one of the reasons why I don't understand the appeal of the Grumpy Sunshine, and I think we spoke about this already with the 4 weekends, but it's just like, if a dude is mean to me, that's a wrap. I'm no longer interested. I'm not gonna subject myself to hurt feelings because I think someone's hot. Like, what else is there to say? So that's kind of the vibe that we're dealing with. I'm not super into it, but again, open heart, open mind, we're gonna keep trucking. The other thing that really confuses me is that Maya keeps talking about Connor and like their past friendship as like, he was my best friend. He was my closest friend. He's the person who knew me the best. And it's kind of like, now I need you to slow your roll, because like, Connor is your brother's best friend. He supported you. He was a listening ear, a comfort shoulder to cry on because of his like friendship and love for your brother. And I'm making this a little murkier than it should be, but it has the same connotation to me as like someone who's like, oh my God, I love my English teacher. They're my best friend. No, they're not. They're being a shoulder to cry on because like that's their obligation as an adult to help a child. Like, I don't know. I feel like Maya's also has like a really misconstrued idea of like what their relationship was, even when they were speaking to each other. And like, there have been flashbacks here and there, so maybe I'm in the wrong, but like, that's your brother's best friend. It's weird that you're saying he's the closest person to you, considering that like his relationship to you is actually a chain of relationships that eventually reaches you. Like, am I overanalyzing this? Am I the problem? It feels like an overstatement. It feels kind of like you're being clouded by your crush. You're saying that, but he's not showing any of that because he dismisses you every single time he has a chance. And then that's also annoying because he like dismisses her and then she's like in her feelings and she like walks out of the room and then he follows her and tries to comfort her but when she tries to call him out on his wishy-washiness, he dismisses her again. So it's like, do you just get off on like hurting a 23-year-old's feelings? Is that sexy? Is that like the whole like point of like the grumpy, like is that it? Is that the appeal? I don't know. So I feel like I'm learning a lot about things that I don't like in this vlog, but we did get one win. Hey, I have a pop quiz for you. Is it cool when there are two characters and character A tries to kiss character B, but then character B stops them and says no, and then character A says, hey, I believe in consent and no is a full sentence, but and also hear me out. Why don't you want to fuck me? And then proceeds to go on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 page debate about whether or not character B's no is legitimate or not. Is that cool? Is that okay? Is that sexy? Is that romantic? Because that's what happened. So things are going a little bit more downhill with this reading experience. And I also like don't like that the more Ali Hazelwood books that I read in my life, the more it's like explicitly, blatantly clear that she doesn't know how to write other characters. Because like Connor could be traded in for Adam, for Eli, for Seth, Ethan, Nicholas, whatever these characters are named, and it's the same fucking guy. And the same thing can be said about Maya and Rue and Sophie and Penelope and whoever else is in her like freaking universe. It's just so lazy. And it's not even just the main characters who like suffer from same face. It's like all of the side characters as well. Like they're all the same person. They all have the same interests. And like there's this one scene in this book where Maya was looking around the breakfast table and was like, oh my god, it's so amazing that like these 12 random people who have come together for this wedding, like not only get along so well, but like seem to really like each other. And I think I even annotated, like, it's not that surprising, you guys are all the same person. And I just like would find it so amazing if Ali Hazelwood tried to like push herself a little bit and like made something different. She made that werewolf vampire book, which was like different in the way of like the magic building of that world, but like at the end of the day, those characters were the same as all of these other characters. I would really love to see Ali Hazelwood like attempt to write like a true lover boy. And like I hate to bring like book Twitter, bookstagram discourse into this video because I truly don't even care that much. But like surrounding Ali Hazelwood and her like remarks on Peeta Mellark, it doesn't surprise me that she hates Peeta and sees that he's useless because he's the true soft boy lover boy like archetype. And like she doesn't see a purpose in him because the only kind of character she likes are the stoic, grumpy, emotionally unavailable, I hurt your feelings because I like you kindergarten bullshit. This isn't me ragging on her alone because a lot of people seem to like it. As a genre, you would think that romances would have more soft lover boys in their stories. It's like the most obvious thing to me as a genre. We're talking about love, we're talking about romance. Where are the soft boys at? So I don't even know where I was going with that, but I'm just not super impressed by the characters in this, their choices, their personalities. But I will say this is definitely more entertaining than 4 Weekends and a Funeral because that book took me weeks to finish, and this is like maybe the second or third day that I'm reading this and I'm already about halfway through. So like there's that. And every single time he's like there's a power imbalance, she's like no there isn't because I said so. As a 38-year-old, you don't have any power over me. I'm an independent woman. The fact that you don't have the like social awareness to understand what power imbalances are. Like you may feel empowered as an individual, but like under the patriarchy, like a rich older man pursuing someone 15 years his junior, there's inherently a power dynamic, a power imbalance there. And like the fact that you're not seeing that like truly only proves his point. I'm getting kind of peeved off with this book. But again, open heart, open mind. Can you believe this is me with an open heart, open mind? That's crazy. I could be meaner. I finished Problematic Summer Love Romance a few days ago, and I can sum up the last 100 pages with just one word, one sound, and that's so there you have it. That's the scoop. That's the review. Once I had the realization that we're dealing with the same characters again in a different book again, I just lost all my patience for this book. Every single time Maya and Connor had an argument, I was like, they're fighting with themselves. And I guess in some ways, like, that's why they work so well together, because they're so similar and they understand each other so thoroughly because they're just mirrors of each other. But like, it's exhausting, especially in this situation. Like, it was exhausting to read about Maya time and time again, like on her knees begging Connor to give her a chance. And every single time he just shut her down. And like, there is this one scene in the last 100 pages where it was like a really intense like begging session. And I was just like, girl, you need to like cut your losses. You need to get up. Like, stay firm on all 10 toes and walk out of that room. Like, it's not fucking worth it. Of course, that was the moment where she realized it wasn't worth it. And of course, that was the moment where Connor was like, oh shit, I'm gonna lose her for real. And of course, it took like 300 pages of her just like getting snubbed and getting hurt time and time again to finally realize that. But then of course, when Connor realizes he lost his major chance and he confesses for real and he's like, hey, sorry, I'm 38 and I'm still fucked up. I don't have a therapist, even though I know I desperately need one, and I'm just like a kind of guy. That's when she was like, oh my god, he does love me for real. I just need to fix him. And maybe that's also what I hate about A Grumpy Sunshine. It's always marketed as a cute, like, opposites attract kind of situation, but it's actually I can fix him propaganda. And I'm not here to fix nobody. If anything, I want to make them worse. I want them to be so enamored by me that they're like, lost in the fucking sauce, stupid. I don't want to make them a better person. That's not my job. That's between them, their therapist, and their God. So the fact that this is just an I can fix him, and not only is it an I can fix him, it's a child. Yes, she's 23. She's not actually a child. I'm being dramatic for dramatic's sake. Having to fix an adult is buck wild. And then the little piece of irony that I did like that Ali Hazelwood did not really like fully acknowledge and fully go into depth is that like Connor hates his dad. And his dad was known to be one of them elderly rich guys who always had a young wife going around. And as much as he hated his dad, he ended up being his dad. And now he has a young wife on his arm. That made me laugh. That gave me the 2 stars that I needed, because I was like, that's hilarious. So this experiment was kind of a flop. 2 out of the 3 books of this TBR did not work for me, but I didn't want to end this vlog on a like sour note. So yesterday, or 2 days ago, I was at work and I was doing some really important research. I was on the interwebs trying to find more books surrounding grief, just because just one taste really worked for me. I was like, oh, maybe it's the grief aspect. So I was on the interwebs, romance with grief, blah, blah, blah. And like, there's a lot of like dark fantasy romances out there that do that, and I wasn't about to do that. I was not interested, right? And so I was like, okay, Venus and 8th, romance books. Nothing came up. That's too specific. Capricorn, Venus, romance books. There was like a vampire book, but my library didn't have it, and so I was like, all right, like maybe next time. And then I remembered, you know, like a lot of like mainstream astrology vlogs aren't even getting into like the planets of it all. Like when they're doing recommendations, it's just like books for Capricorns, you know, and then I guess you can just like associate it to your whatever planet you're looking at. So then I did go through a couple of romance books for Capricorns, like blogs and Reddit posts, and all of them said the same thing. No one is creative on the internet. We're all just doing the same shit over and over again, because without fail, every single person said, hey, if you're a Capricorn and you want to read a romance book, make it a workplace romance, read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. So I did that. And I'm here to tell you that I'm a liar and I'm a fraud and I'm a phony. Everything that I said in the intro, oh, I don't like an office romance, oh, workplace romance, how boring, hate capitalism, unfortunately was just a bit, because I read that book in 2 sittings. I read like 2/3 of it at work, don't tell my boss. And then I read the rest of it this morning. I could not get enough of that book. It was so fucking good. It was so funny. I loved the dynamic between the 2 characters. They are both so stupid, which is one of my favorite qualities of a romance book. Like, I love a romance book of just like a real fucking idiot. And so The Hating Game is a book that has been out for a while, but if you're not aware about what it is, let me tell you about it. We're following 2 characters. One of them is Lucy, the other is Joshua. They work at this publishing company that had like a merger, so one of them is from one company, the other is from the other, and they have to share an office, and they hate each other. And I really love this book because the opening line is something along the lines of like, love and hate are more similar than you think. Like it's the same visceral reaction, but it's like a different source. So like they really hate each other, and they spend their whole day just like fucking with each other. Lucy refers to it as like different games that they play. So they play the mirror game where like he mimics everything that she does, or the staring game where they just quite literally stare at each other for hours. It's just like really childish, stupid shit, and I ate it up. And I feel like everything about this book is like the antithesis of everything that I've been saying throughout this vlog. But I guess the Aquarius in me wanted to be unique, wanted to be an individual, didn't want to fall for the Capricorn Venus propaganda. But at the end of the day, I still have a Capricorn Venus, and so this was really great. So more context, they hate each other. Their job has an opening for a new role. They both want it. And so now they're competing with each other to get this role, and they're still messing with each other. And then there's like still banter, and there's like a blurred line between like hating and loving. That's the whole point of the book. And although they're like hating each other, it's not like a grumpy sunshine thing, and it's not like a bullying thing in this book. Like they're both actively bothering each other, and instead it's more of a like commit to the bit kind of thing, which is another thing that I really love, just like generally, and I guess also in romances. And I guess astrologically it also makes sense because Capricorns, they seek security, they seek stability, and they want a commitment. And especially in a Capricorn Venus, like they don't want a fling, they don't want a situationship, they don't want like a little thing. Like when they commit, they're committing to the bit that is romance. And so in a lot of ways, this book is just that, because even when they're playing the hating game with each other, they're like committing hardcore to this game. When they start to actually like each other and to actually explore that part of their relationship, they're like committing like from the jump. And dude, I was just freaking delighted. I don't know what to say. And it's so funny to me because there is a part of this book, especially like Josh's arc, that was very similar to Connor, where he was basically like, I've been in love with you from the jump, I just didn't say anything. But like it didn't work for me with Connor because like the first time he met her was when she was 13, and then the second time he met her was when she was 20, and that's when he fell in love, and that just gave me the ick. I feel like an age gap romance can only work if you didn't know the younger person when they were a minor. Like that's so weird to me. But like here, they had just started at their new office and they had just met each other, and he was like, I was enamored by you from the jump, and I've been secretly yearning this whole time, but you wanted to play this game, so I decided to play this game with you because it was the only way that you would acknowledge me. And I love the stupid logic of that. That's so idiotic. I want more. That's what I mean. When a man is so stupid, he's playing by playground rules because you decided that's what you wanted to do, and he's like, this is fucking dumb, but whatever you say, queen. Like that's what we need in the romance genre. Not a guy seeing you on your knees begging and being like, nah, I don't want you. Even though I really want you, I don't want you. Like that's such a waste of time in my opinion. What is that? How is that appealing? I want an idiot. I want a guy who loses his common sense, but in a good way. There's also a lot of similarities with The Hating Game and Just One Taste, not only the like work romance aspect of it, but just like the dynamic between the two. Lucy and Olive are people who freak out, and when they freak out, they want to run from a situation. So multiple times in Just One Taste and in The Hating Game, like they were in a situation where they were so overwhelmed, they were freaking out and they wanted to run. And in each circumstance, Leo and Josh in their respective books would stop them and be like, I'm seeing you freak out. I need you to tell me what's wrong. Like, I know it's gonna scare you to be vulnerable and share your emotions, but like for this to work, I need you to be brave and just tell me exactly what's on your mind. That was so freaking beautiful in both books, and I just like freaking ate it up. This is the most telling vlog in my opinion, because like I am really just like unleashing the layers of a Capricorn Venus in a way that like now you have so much information about me, and I don't know why I did this. But just the idea of someone who's like, I see you freaking out, I know you want to run, we're not doing that. And even if it's gonna take us hours, I need you to tell me what's going on. Beautiful, sexy, amazing, mature, stable, secure, commitment. Do you see where I'm going with this? Let's hear it for the Capricorn Venuses. We got it rough. I feel like Capricorn Venuses, despite all of the stereotypes, are one of the most romantic signs and one of the most delusional signs when it comes to romance, because like we have these grand ideas of what romance should be, and maybe this is a biased opinion, but I also think it's like bare minimum ideas, because like what I'm saying right now is basically essentially boiled down to, hey, what if a man listened to you and cared about your feelings? Ain't that sad that that's a high standard to hold at the moment? Anyways, and because Capricorn Venuses have such a high standard, they don't like the flings. They don't like the low commitment shit. They don't like they want the big idea or nothing. So the more you know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great day. I hope all of your projects are going well. And if you have any other romance books that you think is going to work for Capricorn Venus, if you have any books that are similar to Just One Taste or The Hating Game, please let me know in the comments below. I want to explore this more in my life. I need more books like this. I need to get my hands on The Hating Game, even though I think the cover is so ugly, because that is a book that I want to reread. Anyways, I think that's it. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.